Big Cock 45 here. Got me a new gun. It's a new model. I think a lot of people will like this. It's called a Glock 17. You might not be familiar with it, but I just found out about it, so we thought we'd bring it to you. How's that? That makes sense? Yeah, Glock 17. We've not really done what you might call a review of the Glock 17. We had one with a suppressor once, but that was mainly about the suppressor. And now I own a Glock 17. After all these years, sometimes bad-mouthing the Glock 17 a little bit. I confess, I do, because I prefer the Glock 19 size. But I bought one. I traded another firearm for it, but I essentially bought it. This is my Glock 17, and thought it would do something a little different. I had it. You've seen it in a comparison video with something, but I haven't fired it. And I was taking it apart and looking at it. I thought, well, this is neat. You know, if you like firearms and you like semi-automatic firearms and you like Glocks or any kind, and you take it apart and it looks like it just came off the line. There's no crud, you know, anywhere. It's neat because they don't stay that way, do they, very long. Even when you clean them up, they're nice, but they're not like brand new. So I thought, well, John, why don't we just do a video and start out with a brand new gun, and then since we're doing that, why don't we show people what I do? Because I get questions about that quite often. What do you do? Do you lube your gun before you shoot it when you get a new gun? How do you go about getting it ready to shoot? You know, what about that copper lube Glock puts on there? Do you clean that off? Is that, you know, I just get a lot of questions and have over the years about that. So I thought, well, this might be a good time to do that. We're going to shoot the Glock, but before we do it, I'll just show you what I do when I get a new firearm in, whether it's a T&E gun or however it comes to me. When I get a new firearm, now this one's special. They knew I was buying it, so it came with loaded magazines and loaded guns, probably even hot, you reckon? No, I just went ahead and loaded those magazines. The gun's not loaded. I went ahead and loaded them just to have it ready to go. But no, they don't normally come with loaded magazines. But you do get 3 magazines, don't you, and your back straps and everything. And of course I have replaced I put one of those straps on there, the large one. Did I? Yeah, the large one. Okay. So that's it, a new firearm I have never fired. What I normally do is, I have been known to just come out and take a few shots with it and then go clean it. But most of the time what I do is take the firearm apart, and thought maybe you enjoy seeing it. You know, brand new Glock, you know, pristine condition other than being fired maybe at the factory. It's so clean. Look at that frame. Well, they don't stay like that very long, do they? I mean, they clean up just fine, and you can make it look just about like that, can't you? But it's just never been fired other than those whatever, the 2 or 3 rounds they fire to factory. All right, so there we have it, a brand new, it's Gen 4. And what I do is I look it over and see how much lube or junk is on it. Some guns pistols especially, come with a lot of lube. And it's okay. I don't have any idea what lube it is. And you know, I use the Ballistol, and just for consistency's sake, what I do, especially since we're probably going to be doing a video on it, and I like to remove that variable since I don't know what lube is on it. Even if someone lends me a gun, I'll generally, you know, make sure it's lubed up with Ballistol. So I know lots of lubes work, lots of lubes are fine, but I like to remove that variable, as I said, and just make sure it's lubed the way I lube it. So I can't be out here shooting and start shooting and it starts malfunctioning and then think, well, I don't know, maybe it was the lube that person used or the lube the factory put on it or something. So I know it's lubed properly. All right. Now some I have to do a lot of. I've got the alcohol out here, and what I'll typically do is just, you know, get some on a paper towel or rag or something, and I'll just kind of go over areas inside and just make sure that, you know, the lube is off of it, whatever's on there. Now there's better things than alcohol probably, but I just go ahead and use something simple, get the bulk. It wouldn't really matter if I didn't get it all off over the long haul, but it's probably better get most of it off, because Ballistol is it's not really petroleum based, so it doesn't mix with, you know, your typical gun oils all that well anyway. So, and that one that's not loaded with lube or anything. I know some of that copper stuff, that doesn't hurt a thing. It'll be gone after a while. It doesn't really matter. Okay, don't worry about the copper, whatever, on a Glock. And the barrel, you know, this barrel, it's really actually kind of dry. actually. I bought this in a gun shop, and what I'll do is usually take a patch and a little alcohol on it. Some of you are very familiar with alcohol, I bet, right? Rubbing and otherwise. I'll run that through there. Ooh, clean barrel, look at that. Pretty clean. And so then I'll dry that out maybe. And often I'll just leave it lying on the workbench, you know, in the work. Normally I do this at my workbench in the reloading room, of course. Okay. And because I've got the wooden table, I can spray ballast. I don't have to worry about anything messing up our expensive leather here. Okay, so at that, this looks very dry. I didn't bring a toothbrush with me. I usually will take a toothbrush and just, you know, just like when you're cleaning it, make sure it's all clean. And I don't see any lube there, and there shouldn't be a bunch of lube in there. Okay, not on the rails there. Looks good. Now what I'll do sometimes in the workroom is I'll just soak this sucker. I won't do as much on it, and I'll just, you know, get some in the barrel. Wouldn't have to do it. I just like the properties that ballistol gives metal. It tends to, as I have said before, kind of turns it into an old iron skillet like I cook eggs on quite often during the week. It's cured, and things don't seem to stick to it as well. So I've got some inside there in the barrel, and I'll put some on a patch and do the same thing with the ballistol. The alcohol is dried up by now, so I'll ballistol a patch and run it through there. And I don't know, I always feel like maybe it helps keep things from sticking to it if it's been treated, so to speak. Maybe not so much a Glock barrel as some other firearms. It's just these Glock barrels are really hard metal. Okay, so then a dry patch through there. And that thing is ready to go as far as I'm concerned. Okay, it doesn't hurt if you have a little oil on the, of course, the barrel there and where it links up. Not a problem at all. In here, that's dried out now. I might take a ballistol, put a little in there, not too much. I'll usually make sure there's some in the grooves there, maybe the rails, especially start out with. Don't want to shoot it too dry, although Glocks don't need a lot of lube. And I use these little handy doodads. Drawing a blank on the name here on these. Guy sends me these, that's terrible, isn't it? I'll think of it and put it in the description. But I've really discovered these and like them a lot. I'll put a little ballistol on the end of those, like giant Q-tips, and then I can get it in there wherever I think a little bit might be good. Make sure the rails have it. Okay, if it's in those rails, I know we're good. And then I know you're supposed to put a little bit, just a little bit on these places. And then it's supposed to put a little bit there on the connector. I don't put much there usually. Okay, so that's about all the lube I think it needs. So that's basically it. And then I'll just bring it out and shoot it. And now I do something that I know a lot of people don't, because I run into people all the time. Their gun's actually kind of dirty. They just don't clean it until they feel like it needs it. But I typically clean a Glock every time I shoot it, which you wouldn't. Of all the pistols, you could get by without doing that. A Glock is one of them. You could probably shoot the thing for a year and not have to worry or think about that. But I just clean them. Hey, you don't know. The zombie apocalypse could start tomorrow, and I've got all these dirty guns. So I just like to have them clean. I never know which one I might, for sure, put in a holster and be carrying it. Okay? So I'm sorry if you don't like Glocks. You're going to hear a little Glock love. They tend to work. Now we'll find out. I might get surprised. But when I open up a new Glock, it's not wise to do it, but I would maybe have even carried this thing if I mean really before shooting it. I am that confident in Glocks. Now you'll love it, you Glock haters, if I have to eat my words today, because I have not fired this gun. You could tell that. You know, if it malfunctions, we have all sorts of problems. But don't expect that to happen. But I'm just basing that not on this firearm, but on a lot, well, 25 years or more of Glock experience. That's what I'm basing that on. And we could have a surprise today, though, because you never know what's going to happen in real time, do you? Is it real time? I think it's kind of real. I'll put this stuff over here out of the way. All this junk. Okay, but that's what I do. And then I just take it out and fire the thing. All right, over there. And we will see if it works. All right, Glock 17, Gaston's creation. And let's just see if it works before I talk too much about that. If it doesn't work, we might claim it was made by somebody else, right? All right, a variety of magazines out here. Got hollow points. You all let me forget to shoot these sometimes, so after we get it dirty, make sure I fire those. All right, got some magazines, got them loaded. And likewise, most Glocks, the sights are on. You know, I mean, they typically hit right where you point. I know that sounds obvious, but they normally do not shoot high or low appreciably. So we'll see. All right, first shots with this baby. It's pretty bad. I didn't have a Glock 17 because I started out with Glock 17s, and that's where I developed that amount of Glock love that you hear around here. What should we shoot first with a brand new firearm? We should probably shoot something that will go explode like that 2-liter right there. Okay. How about a can? Well, let's see if the sights are on. They seem to be. They seem to be. Let's try a couple more 2-liters. All right. Gong. I think they might be on. Oh yeah. Now look at it. Looks a little different, doesn't it? These smoked up, and now it will never be the same, but it will keep working, I guarantee you. Nice. I happen to have some more ammo. So anyway, the Glock 17, we all know about the Glock 17, I guess, but just to reiterate and remind you of some things that the fellow who developed it, and Glock is a very interesting story. I have read the book Glock, and I would recommend it if you like Glocks. It's a pretty interesting story, how it all got started and went through. Glock's kind of a quirky company in a lot of ways. You'll be surprised by some of what you read. But by and large, you know, Gaston Glock had no experience with firearms back in before 1980. And he was a mechanical engineer building furniture and hardware, and he's using synthetic materials and things. He was kind of an expert in that area. And then the Austrian government was looking for a new pistol, and he kind of got tied into that and said, hey, maybe I could do that, you know. And he got some people together. So an interesting fellow. He got some people, some experts in handguns from law enforcement, military, and sports shooting competition, and got them down. So, okay, now what's a pistol need? What should we look at? What would you want to have on a pistol, a combat pistol? And I was talking with John about this earlier. I think one of the keys there was probably the fact he got competition shooters or sports shooters involved, not just military and law enforcement. And obviously, some of the things they came up with are exactly the things that I like, John likes, a lot of people who compete with these things like, law enforcement likes, and even military, okay? So they did their homework, and he had no, it's very interesting, I think, because he had no preconceived notions. He just got a bunch of pistols, semi-automatic pistols, and he has made the statement, I think he said before 1980, he didn't know the difference between a revolver and a semi-automatic pistol. He really didn't. He was not a part of the firearms world. He just, hey, I can make one of those probably. I can make about anything, you know. And he just studied it, got expert advice, and put one together. And I think it was like 6 months, 9 months, he had a prototype out there. And it's really not much unlike the final Glock 17, first gen, you know. So pretty interesting stuff. And it does show you, you hear people talk about how they're involved in some project and want to get some fresh eyes on something. And the fact that maybe someone they bring in to help consult doesn't know anything about it might be a good thing sometimes. You know, he had no preconceived notions really. And that's one reason for the innovative design. Ugly design, you might think. Horrible design, some of you might think. But it was designed around the 9mm cartridge. And let's see if it'll fire some 9mm cartridges. And along we shoot, go ahead, shoot these hollow points before your your crazy shooter here forgets. Again, I finally got some of the, I remembered to request some from Federal. So I have some, these are HydroShocks, I believe. And they're hollow points, of course, and we appreciate the ammo from Federal. So we'll shoot some of these, see if it functions. Okay, let's just go out through the gong with these things. Maybe they'll go through it. Not bad. I'm gonna try that red plate on the right. I don't know where to hold exactly, but I'll just assume it's about like most Glocks. All right, I guess right there. Let's try a ram while I've got these HydroShocks in there, and we're hunting. Nice. Yeah, those are good hunting rounds because they're hollow points, right? Oh man. Well, you know, I'm amazed. I mean, are you all amazed? This thing's working. We've not had a malfunction. You believe that? I think it will be successful. Gosh, right out of the box. No break-in period? I thought you were supposed to fire a gun about 200 times before it was reliable. So anyway, no, I wouldn't recommend you do that. Go buy a gun and put it in your holster. Make that your carry gun. But as I said, I would actually trust it. Wouldn't be wise, but I would, and you can see why. All right. Now again, I still have to eat my words. So anyway, Glock, he had no preconceived notions, and like in '82, I think they got the Austrian contract. They ordered like 30,000 of these things for the military. Then the Norwegians adopted it, and before long it was creeping into NATO, and there was a lot of buzz around it, right? And I remember those days. I remember seeing my first one in a gun shop in Indiana, and I'm not sure what the year, it's like 85 or 6, I guess, driving back from St. Louis, and like, wow, what an ugly thing. It holds how many rounds? You know, I was like everybody else. Yuck. Yeah, but interesting, and then it just took off. You know, once people started shooting it, they just got over the appearance of it, I guess. And of course, one thing that helped was our friendly anti-gun friends, because they had all these rumors ready that it would go through an airport metal detector, you know, undetected, and you know, would have terrorists getting on the planes with them and all that kind of stuff. So it was big in the news. Some of you remember that well, don't you? And you know, so Glock had to bring in experts, and obviously, and it didn't take much to debunk most of that. But actually, it had like 18 or 20 ounces of steel. I think it had, in one article I read back then, I think they weighed it, had more steel in it than a Smith & Wesson Model 36 or something. You know, so all that was silly, and they showed how it shows up even on the worst metal detectors and everything. That probably helped Glock as much as anything, because people who didn't know about the firearm certainly knew about it after that, and then it just got very, very popular. In the early '90s, they'd already sold like 350 or 400,000 of them, you know, to military departments, or not military, well, military, but police departments in this country and other countries, and it just took off. Yeah, and it was the Glock 17. It was this model. Most of us think of many of the other models, as we have them. I have a lot of them. And but I tell you, it was designed around this 9mm in this size, and you hear me badmouth it. The main reason I do is because of the hump. That's why I put that large backstrap on it. It's not as bad with that on there, I noticed, with this one, but I still don't like that shape. Okay, the hump hits me in the wrong place there, whereas on the 19, which I have out here mainly for that reason, my old 19, it kind of tucks in a little better. It just feels better to me. Okay, so I'm not making fun of, I probably have been overly critical of the Glock 17. I had 2 or 3 of them. I used to carry it in the late 80s. And so I liked it. It's just that when I got these, and oh man, it fits me so much better, you know. So that was the thing. All right, let's take a couple more shots. One of the big advantages is the fact that it will hold a magazine like that. We might shoot one of those. You think? I think we ought to. Let's put a couple on this Glock 17 classic target, classic gun. I thought I'd just work on the center there a little bit. You know, I'm always slinging rounds on that thing. Since it's a Glock 17, somebody might actually like to have some good hits. Where's that other can? I don't know. They just shoot. They just shoot. And even people who don't like them, they think they're really ugly, would never want one. If you put one in their hands, I mean, I'm talking kind of historically, go back to the 80s, early 90s. It's always been my experience. They'll pick it up and they don't, you know, they hold their nose. They don't really want to shoot a Glock, you know. And they'll start shooting and whoa, you know, they're hitting targets they don't normally hit. And that's part of the attraction. That's kind of the nature of it. Well, this thing is a sweet shooter. I tell you, the Gen 4 with that spring and everything, it's there's like no recoil. This is 124 grain ammo here. One of the advantages, of course, is you get you know, Glock magazines in that configuration over the designed for the Glock 18, and just like the 19, you know, it'll feed these as well. But you got a lot of firepower in this thing. Why don't we do? Hey, I've got an idea. Now I probably not gonna shoot both. We've got a pumpkin down here. You know, kind of inaugurate the pumpkin season. Let's put a few rounds on it. Now there's just 9mm, of course, and it is a pumpkin. It's not a watermelon. But so let's put a few on it. Let's chew on it some. All right. Let's chew up that pumpkin. Let's eat that pumpkin. All right. Also got hot brass down my back. Oh man, I think we got him. The whole mag did the job. Hey, it didn't malfunction. So that's one thing you always have at your disposal if the oh, there it is. If you run into really serious zombie. Now talk about The Walking Dead. This wouldn't be a bad outfit, would it? Oh man. Got him again. We don't want to fall. Oh, sorry. I was just playing there. I hope y'all don't mind. I know you're along for the ride. You know what we have to do with it, since it's a new gun, I guess to break it in really well, is we need to at least try to hit the chicken. I'll calm down, I'll slow down, and that's what happens when you get 33 rounds, or however many I had in those magazines. You end up, if you're not careful, just throwing lead, which sometimes might be in order, right? God, didn't mean to shoot this much. I'm sorry, I apologize. Let's calm down here. Let's shoot that chicken, all right? All right. Okay. Let's properly break in this baby. Oh, I turned him sideways. I know I can't hit him now. Gong time. Nice. They're just so darn shootable. That's all there is to it. Got one more magazine. I think I ought to shoot it. I still can't believe it hasn't malfunctioned. It's crazy. So let's go ahead and take this guy out. See if I can not hit the bird. Let's put it in the holster. All right. Okay, 2 liter. It's either you or me. It's either you or me. You too, cowboy. Oh man, too much fun. Yeah, the Glock 17 Gen 4, of course, and it started the Glock craze. And it didn't start the polymer pistol craze, because those had been around, but this creation did really set the polymer pistol world on its ear, the pistol world on its ear in a lot of ways. And I was around for those days. You know, too bad I don't have a better memory. I'd remember more. But but I do remember this was it. I remember standing right here. This was gravel instead of blacktop at the time. A fellow I knew had one of these, and I, whoa, what is that? And he'd bring it over and shoot it, and let me shoot it. And the more I shot it, okay, I got over the looks, because it shot well, and the reliability of it. I couldn't ignore that, because I was shooting a lot of 1911 stuff at the time, and competition and everything. I'd have a malfunction occasionally, even with hardball, and you have to tweak those 1911s, you know, especially back then, get them to work reliably. And these things never malfunction, you know. And I just, you know what, I think I got to have one of those. And so that was probably 86, 87, I don't know. But since then I've had them, and I had for 2 or 3 years nothing but this, the Glock 17. And you know, I should be whipped for making so much fun of them, because this is what started it with me, the old Glock 17. Quite an innovative design, and I think it'll probably be a fairly successful firearm. Life is good.